Good morning again to everyone. Esteemed panelists, very happy that you're here. My name is, heard already in the morning, Sebastian Marker, the project director of the, unfortunately, closing today, and also of the Urban Act project that is still continuing for 2 more years. I'm with GIZ now for a little bit longer than 10 years, a long time already in India, several years, many years before in African countries, Zambia, in South, working different positions there, always in the sector of sustainable urban development, solid waste management, water sanitation and governance. But then we come here to our colleagues here in the panel to start with you, Sir, Mr. Nitesh Chandrakar. Nitesh is a civil engineer and urban planner with 10 years of experience in solid waste management, plastic waste management, and circular economy. His expertise spans strategy and implementation, gains through roles with organizations like the UNDP, Finnish Society, Aga Khan Development Network, and GIZ International Services.
I'm here on behalf of Anil Bansal. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Waste management, I think, is one of the most raised issue in India, and specifically in urban, and now it's also moving towards rural. And thanks a lot for working on this project like CCPME on Kochi, Kanpur and Port Blair. From my experience of working in waste management sector from last 10 years, very closely with urban local body, lot of challenges to come up with a successful project on waste management in any city. I just want to raise like one concern I see when we work with urban local body, and surely you all would have experienced this when you are working with urban local body. One huge challenge I see, because we are talking about plastic waste, we are talking about the recovery, we are talking about material recovery facilities. In India, normally how urban local body works, that they outsource the all the aspects of solid waste management, like door-to-door collection, transportation, and then processing. So normally in a city, what happens, door-to-door collection is done by one private agency, then they do the transportation part, and then there is integrated waste management facility which is operated by another private operator. And then there are MRF or other processing unit which is again operated by other operator. Okay, and most of the cities, this is the model, and here I see we always talk about that material recovery facilities are running under capacity. Okay, recycling facilities are running under capacity, and the waste processing, mixed waste processing plants are running over capacity. If it is 250 tons per day, it is running for 450 tons. So the number of concessionaires in the city, I think this is also a challenge, because if there is one private contractor who is collecting waste from source, and how you expect that the most recyclable, valuable thing will reach the last, to the MRF operator, and that is the reason why these private entities are not showing much of interest in operationalizing of MRF or recycling facility in urban local body. So yeah, I will start with that. There are a lot of other challenges, but surely this is what I will start.
Thanks, Nitesh. I think these are very relevant points that we also see in the course of our project, really how to incentivize the private operator to really see the business model behind it.
Cities of Kochi, Port Blair and Kanpur, with different riverine. One is a riverine system approach, one is a marine system approach, and one is a backward approach. So we had 3 different type of ecosystems under which the plastic the flow was studied, and that waste calculation, based upon that the the MRF were designed, which are now in operation, and a lot of work has gone in designing components, in particular the MRF. And I am proud to say that, as a part of GIZ, we were able to develop like maybe 5 different prototypes of MRF, which are really a good support to the country, and it should be which are available at Andy. And then coming to the subject of the present discussion, I would say that the challenge remains with the limited manpower of the ULBs, particularly in terms of capacity, where they are still very underrated, not very at par with the developments. So there is a huge, though the project has made a lot of effort to undertake the capacity building of the city, participating cities, even for the 3 states of UP, Kerala and Port Blair, the capacity building was done, and which I hope it would have really helped the entire city as well. And coming to the challenges, there is still a lot to do for pushing up the informal sector participation in race-related activities. Initiatives like Swachh or the one being done at Kerala, we are still to look, there is a long way ahead. The country is yet to do a lot to engage informal circle. Despite being recognized in the solid waste tools that informal workers are also one of the very important stakeholders, I think a lot is to be done. And the project has also shown a way by developing a lot of training material, a lot of videos and a lot of IC activities, and the partners have done a very good work, particularly for the remote places like Port Blair, which are now on the national map by their active participation in the Sansadan portal. And I am happy to say that the cities which have enrolled during the project, they are still putting the data on the Sansadan portal, and I hope that Mahua would take this advantage and encourage more cities to enroll into this program.
Since my career in the last 6 years, when I was working in this sector, now definitely the government is also very interested. We used to get a lot of, we had to do a lot of hardship to get these permissions to operate in a few of these cities. But now they are also welcoming us and also connecting with us regarding installation of trash barriers in different cities. We have got a lot of interest from the government, so that is something very good. And also these conferences organized by GIZ, for example, lately have been, it shows that this is a topic which is very important and a lot needs to be done. But saying that, I don't see a fund sanctioned. I mean, the government doesn't have a specific budget for marine litter prevention as such. They do have a budget for MRF, setting MRF for municipal solid waste, management municipal solid waste. But for marine litter, I think the government should definitely have a separate fund because it's a different nature of project. It should have funds for installation of trash barriers, collection of marine litter. Marine litter is not MSW, municipal solid waste. It's very different in composition. It's wet, it has organic matter, it has water hyacinth, it has different kinds of plastic. So it needs a different expertise to manage that kind of waste. And I don't think there is any marine litter MRF, for example, in India. But we are, as Plastic Mission, we are trying to move in that direction where we are the ones who have this, who are specialists in managing the marine litter and setting up these MRFs which are meant to manage marine plastic waste. And we have been getting a lot of support from government, definitely, to set up our facilities and the infrastructure. But fund-wise, we definitely fall short on that. Most of our project is happening from corporate CSR. These are all CSR projects. We are getting money from the corporates, but there has been almost nil funds which we have received from the government. We definitely keep trying, but it's very hard to tap that fund, and also coming from a private sector, the companies like us, since they are a startup, they don't have that expertise to understand the the ecosystem of the judicial ecosystem, or how these the municipalities operate, and how we can tap up those funds. So I think.
And so here, working in the domain from last 10 years, I have been gone through the process, value chain assessment, and all the entire process. So it was the time when the collection was not happening, the MRF was not there, processing sites were not there. But if we see the current scenario, we have established good collection, good network of development partners and agencies. But still we are not able to recover the plastic or the material what is being collected from the municipal level at all, including wet waste or dry waste or even textile or other waste. So if we talk about the recovery, we have to think on the linkages with the business, with the profitability, because the PET bottle collection is high since the last. And if you see the low value plastic, LVPs or the thin plastic, then we stuck in the municipality level, in the market, or in the any particular location where we have collected and it is dumped. We all are looking for the solution, some innovation, but still it is not scalable. So we need to have that model to decentralize the recycling, because one of the example I must quote, in the Bhiwadi just near to Delhi, I have seen the recycling of mulching plastic and other low value plastic what is being used at below 50 micron. But in the other cities, even in the remote, PET is not being collected. So if we talk about the circularity, if we talk about the recovery, then we have to think on the linkages and scale up of the recovery solutions at every level in municipality or the municipal corporation. So this is my view, what I have been gone through this process. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Victor. A very important point. There are lots of very, very good practices around, but how to really scale them up, the whole city, to the whole state, to the whole country, I think this is now our really challenge which we have to really work on in the near future. So last but not least,
I probably observed that I'm still having a cold, so maybe it's good that I didn't come and bring my viruses from Germany to India in these days. Yeah, my topic is EPR, and EPR is a policy instrument. The extent to which it has a positive influence on how plastic pollution how plastic pollution is managed, it depends on how it is implemented. And here, of course, digital solutions can support a successful implementation. However, to achieve good results, and more than just cherry picking, good regulations are key. And what do I mean by cherry picking? We all know there are good recycling solutions for PET, and this recycled material has a high market value. But what about small sachets? If countries want to prevent them from ending in the environment and eventually in the ocean, they need to ensure that all waste is collected and recycled, and here EPR systems can come into play. And I would like to preface with one point. In the past, it was much more expensive to wrap products, especially with materials such as glass and metal. Manufacturing costs were higher, and in the case of glass, so were logistic costs. Plastic is versatile, inexpensive, and it weighs very little, which greatly benefits companies bringing products to the market. It also benefits, of course, customers and also the products because they are wrapped properly. However, it's no wonder that over the last 30 years, the amount of plastic packaging material has increased globally by about 3 times. And
there are multiple other technologies which can be used for waste categorization. There is AI which can be used to figure out what are the different waste streams which you are collecting. There are applications which can quantify the waste without even weighing them. so that we can plan better. If we have to have a cleanup from our trash boom, we can use these softwares to see how much quantity is there and then accordingly deploy the solution. Either we go manually or do we hire some machineries. Then there's remote sensing also, which can then help us to figure out what are the plastic hotspots in a river where we should go, and then that's where we should first tackle these different plastic which has been accumulated. So there's multiple technologies out there. There's spectroscopy also, which has helped us a lot during identification of different materials, because before we were using manual methods to find out what is PET, what is HD, what is PE, what is PS. There are multiple variety of plastic, and to segregate it properly, you need to definitely have invest in technology and utilize technology, because the better the segregation, the better the value you get for that material. So yeah, these are a few things which we are using in our operations, and which are there might be more, I'm sure.
Definitely. Yeah, thanks for very interesting insights.
Really like this question, and yes, a global network would have many advantages. It is also being discussed, for example, under the term universal producer responsibility. The advantages would be harmonization of EPR regulations. Companies like Unilever and Nestle would welcome this very much. Cross-border ethical and efficient recycling supply chains would be possible. Maybe there would be no more illegal waste trade. And enhancing and sharing of innovation and knowledge would be possible, more data transparency, and also the pooling of resources for infrastructure investments. This sounds very promising. However, no government should wait for this, rather start now and develop and implement its own standards and processes now. The reason such an EPR network could have been very well initiated under the Plastic Treaty. But what was originally a whole chapter in the Plastic Treaty was heavily abridged, and now there's not even an agreement on common standards on EPR. So we actually cannot expect a global network very soon. And another threat is that the smallest common the countries agree on the smallest common denominator, and not a sophisticated EPR system is negotiated. So research institutions and also international organizations such as the GAP for EPR, the Global Action Partnership for EPR, are definitely discussing those developments, but I think it's simply too early for such global networks.
Thanks a lot, Dorothy, for these insights and ideas. And Bharat, let me come with the same question to you. Perhaps now, from your side, of course, more from the Indian perspective, from the Indian context, what do you think about global network stakeholders, plastic waste management, EPR, and the significance?
So basically, Indian EPR rules have been, in practice for last 3.5 years now, and we have seen a total digitized approach as far as EPR program rollout is concerned. We have also seen how there was a big strict enforcement by the Central Pollution Control Board on the PIBOs or PWPs in terms of audits, in terms of registration. There has been a massive push in terms of rollout, registration, and ensuring that everybody is carrying out the duties sincerely, the traceability of the material, the filing of the quarterly reports, whatsoever it is. But still, we see a couple of challenges which are existing. Recently, there was a news that the next year, the beverage industry is required to meet a challenge of 25% of recycled resin. So that is not available. So now this is a great challenge for the government, because we don't have the manufacturing of the required recycled resin, which is to be added with the virgin resin manufacturing. So that is one challenge which I see, and I also anticipate that there would be a renegotiated target, because we are still to ramp up our recycling industry. That is one. Secondly, for category 4, which is compostable, we still do not have any PWPs, which are plastic waste processing facilities. So we need to do a lot of work on that category 4. And there is a lot of, with the urban city perspective, there is no accountability of the plastic which leaks into the aquatic environment, ultimately building to the marine litter. That is not being taken into consideration when we talk about the targets actually.
Of journey, and it engaged lot of players for the processing. Of course, they do separation, they do segregation, and then refine the product for the recyclability. Because recycler does not have the space and the manpower to recycle or create the material recyclable grade. So, as Bharat sir has asked and raised his concern about the quality of material that is need to be used for the recycled content. That is the one of the major challenge for the Indian recycling grade, because rPET just came in existence in last 1 year back because PET was recycled for only textile. So in the same grade, if you talk about the recycling and recyclability, so that is being degraded. It is not for the same grade. So once you are taken for the first grade material, you are degrading the material, and then third degrade. So it is not the real circular economy, because at the end of the day you are going to dump, or you are preparing the material for the waste to energy or the cement plant. So
where waste services were lacking, littering and dumping became a common habit. So when you talk about the waste, increased waste or waste dumping, there's a direct linkage with the habits. And here comes in our BCC activities or initiatives. So the campaigns, we implemented a social and behavior change communication strategy there, which was engaging communities in plastic waste reduction, and where everybody, all the stakeholders in the plastic waste chain were involved. They were pulled in, and they participated in different aspects and in a very customized, targeted campaign. And we named, like now with the municipal corporation of the 3 cities, we worked in Clean Up Kanpur was one, Clean Up Port Blair was in Port Blair. But in Kochi, there was already one program of the municipal corporation called HEAL program was on. So we integrated with that, and we worked with for green ambassadors and school-based HEAL clubs.
A system of collection of tailoring excess that forms a huge part of the waste produced by the tailoring shops in our city. It is being done with the help of the civic bodies. The tailoring excess was earlier being discarded and dumped into water bodies or burnt and sent to landfills, causing major pollution to our land.
In terms of the analytics that you've now been able to generate with the kind of a broad sense of things, how they are, what shouldn't be like, is there a way to kind of relay it back to the concerned policy makers, to the people who are working on EPRs, people who are working on policies at the central level, whether it's reaching their ears or not?
Yeah, so obviously we are very bad at that, in getting the information up to the center, and we hope the center comes to the states also and see what's happening. But one of the analytics is that today EPR has moved towards credits by recyclers. It's become a monopoly of the recyclers and just the manufacturers. Now there is, and I've been hearing MRFs and recycling, it's the right thing to do towards the fair economy. Now there should be, the MRF should also have a EPR as part of the entire framework, which means there are 2 parts to EPR. Part 1 is the collection and sorting, and part 2 is the processing or the recycling side. If you bring that into the EPR framework, you are actually saying that the MRF MRF runners, whether it's a municipality or private limited, can actually issue credits to the manufacturers, which means you're pushing higher collection which means you're pushing higher segregation at source, and you're also going to include the informal guys who are doing a lot of our milestone collections, and ensuring that these MRS are going to run at capacities. And the early morning discussion was also talking about we have so much of infrastructure but we don't have the capacities, we're not running at capacity. So giving that small regulatory change to the MRF owners that you can also issue EPR certificates, boost collection, sorting and the upstream vendors. And second thing also is that today I'm seeing a lot of MRF as a business model is not viable. They start, they stop, and they're saying that this is not working for. Why is it not working? It's because we need more funds, and more funds are going. And EPR can be a mechanism to bridge that gap to make it run viable. And we are already talking about draft EPR for paper, sani, glass, which are also part of our collection. So plastic is not the. In order to do plastic, we need to get all the waste. So plugging in all these revenues will really help make the MRFs also viable, and this is something that we really want to communicate from on the policy side.
Thank you very much, Ms. Raj. This waste pickers model is there for the longest time. It's there in all our cities, and we should be taking pride in this level of systems in place. But what is that factor that turned around things for Swachh, which is not being able, which is probably not being done in other cities, and how have you kind of factored in that not all the cities will have Swachh, or the outreach of Swachh could not go in for 4,000 cities or more than that? That's one part. And the second is reducing plastic leakages. In terms of environmental outcomes, how do you reduce plastic pollution in terms of that they reduce their travel to the rivers and to marine bodies, and what lacks now that needs to be done? 7 to 8 minutes again, please.
Okay. Thank you very much. I won't get into how I ended up here, I guess I just did. Why is there only one such model in the country is really stressful, to be very honest. Because wherever we go, we have to try and justify our existence. And why it's not replicable. The reason that it has come about firstly is simply because of the leadership, tenacity and the ongoing efforts of the waste pickers themselves. So Swachh is a cooperative which is owned by the waste pickers. I am just the chief clerk, right? And if I die or disappear tomorrow, it makes zero difference to the system whatsoever. The waste pickers wake up, they go, they collect, they sort, they send for recycling, they compost at source, they hand over to the corporation, they take money from the citizens directly. Your direct user fee mechanism. And then they go home, have to recycle about 200 tons every single day. It's worked because the waste pickers have taken ownership of it, the ecosystem that was around. So excellent municipal commissioners in Pune back to back have had the vision to say that let's not go down this normal model of just contracting things out. Let's look at the people who are actually doing it and transform them and shift them from the containers and the landfills directly to the doorstep. I think in the early 2000s, when the rest of the rules came about, it was very easy to foresee that the minute corporations start collecting waste, everyone in the city and on the streets who's collecting and living on that waste is going to be wiped out. And that is happening systematically everywhere, not because of any conscious effort to exterminate or remove waste pickers of the informal sector, but it's just that's how it's happening. As our streets get cleaner, waste pickers and the informal sector loses out. So administrative support has been very good. Political support has also been fairly relevant in Pune. Mostly though, I think it was in the conceptualization of the model, which absolutely predates me, which is that let's build a pro-poor private-public partnership that looks at all the triple bottom lines. It makes sure that the person who is working has dignity, has fair remuneration, and has agency and control over the work that they do. They're not contracted workers who will just be kicked out. Let's make sure that there is a transparent engagement between the worker and the citizen. Many a times if I see kachra on the road outside of my house, I don't know why it's there. I don't know why my streets are not clean. I don't know whom to hold accountable to. I can go to the municipal commissioner or a helpline. But here the waste picker and the citizen directly interact with each other. One has to segregate and hand over on time, and the other one has to come on time and collect properly. And one segregates and they pay. And because of that direct commercial transaction between them, over the years, a huge amount of solidarity has been built. You know, we all know our domestic workers are doodwalas or paperwalas, but we don't necessarily know who collects our waste. Pune is very different in that context because people are coming to the true doorstep. So if I live on the 6th floor, they come to my flat. They don't come to the bottom of my building. If I live in a slum, they will come to the doorstep of my shanty, not at the corner. And this has made sure that socially speaking, waste pickers are integrated into the fabric of society. And I think these have enabled the system to survive as much as possible. The other thing is that, so one is the social context, the second is of course the financial context. It has been designed so that money is paid directly, there are no overhead costs, there is full transparency and direct accountability, and it is extremely cheap for the city. Most cities are now struggling with collecting user fees through property tax and all of that. Waste pickers collect about 85 to 90 crores per annum directly without any cost.
So the first question you asked me was about the capacity building. I come from an organization which is going to be now 100 years next year, and we have been there for capacity building purposes only. We work with all levels of government across India. So the issue with the capacity is one, it is a dynamic subject. It is not something which you can say that it is stationary, or I can do capacity building today for a particular thing and tomorrow it is not going to change. It does. And specifically we have been seeing over the years that the rate of capacity building needs to be much faster than what we have been able to keep up pace with. The second issue which is there is also that we have always had a top-down approach, whereas capacity building requires a bottoms-up approach. What is required at the ground is first needs to be communicated directly up the channels, and then it has to be designed accordingly and done. Fortunately, since the last 5 to 7 years, this mode has been deployed by the government over the period of time, and now with the Capacity Building Commission coming into picture, there is a whole system of passbooks of capacity which is going to come into force for every municipal employee, which means that they can actually, so there is a communication from bottom up, which is asking, the city is asking the center or the state governments that what is the kind of deficiencies I have and what is the required capacity which needs to be built, rather than the center deciding and saying that okay, Swachh Bharat Mission, so let us capacitate everyone on Swachh Bharat Mission, which was also right, but it had certain deficiencies in terms of not a targeted approach. So you were training somebody already trained in something already there, so no need. So that is one aspect. The other aspect is that in capacity building, actually how you define capacity was also a challenge earlier. Capacity was synonymous with training, whereas that is not true. Capacity means understanding processes, developing standards, defining these standards and making sure that they are implemented at ground.
So it's been a while we are trying to get cities on board and making them accepting the guidelines, programs, Smart City you take, Swachh Bharat Mission you take. But there are indications, as you rightly asked. And then the indications are to go to the process where the cities are also able to communicate to each other, which is absolutely missing target. If I'm on a smart city and the city neighboring to me is not a smart city, these two cities don't talk. And waste management is a collective effort. It's metro stage. So the waste taken from a city might be dumped outside the city. As a smart city, this might deliver this packet of waste to another city. And if they don't talk, it's difficult to get the work done at national level or state level. So in this term, and coming back to the river protection of the rivers, we have been doing a distinctly different approach. We have adopted calling it River Cities Alliance. And as GIZ also closely works with Namami Gange, the work with Namami Gange we are doing around the river management. And there we have created an alliance of river cities. By virtue of the river, they are aligned and then they are at a platform. And then river being a continuous phenomena like the waste management. The cities in proximity to each other, cities on the bank of a particular river or in a particular basin or in a particular state are communicating to each other for every bit of it. and under river management plan what we are creating, cities are also hand-holding each other. What best practices what we saw in Ayodhya, the full organization gave the case study. In Ayodhya and other cities which are producing a lot of religious waste. Such organizations are not very popular in South, if I may say. Now the cities in North are helping the cities in South by virtue of the University Alliance, because they are not going through the ministry, they are not going through the state-to-state discussion. They are simply going city A to city B by virtue of an initiative. So we are hearing a lot of indications from cities in that way, that if we can connect to each other, successful cases are required. And also, Mr. Tiwari also mentioned, this has to be bottom-up approach. And then we are hearing from cities as per their need, and in terms of the need-based approach, we try to handhold them in terms of the funding, technology, programs, or capacity building. So it is very much need-based, which is why we are able to hear from cities and handhold them and support them.
Now, another conflict is between recycling, because one important aspect is also on how to try to reduce waste. And then when you look at waste reduction strategies, typical examples are looking at recyclability in producing products which are more recyclable. We had a good example from Kerala, looking at how alternative packagings can be, packaging material of alternative can be used in the market.
It is lacking in our system, because whatever RDF is producing in our processing plant, there is no way to use that RDF. So sometimes, as per our present government policy, it has to be used by the cement plants. So cement plants are not located in every part of the country. So there is a lot of cost for the disposal of the RDF. So I think there is a very important area that is lacking. We can construct waste to energy plant, waste to coal plant, that can be say from RDF to waste to energy or RDF to coal plant. This area is completely lacking, and it can be 100% privatized, or it is the win-win situation for the government also